Hey guys, Mike here with Flux Workholding. Today I want to show you how you can take a simple machine product, such as this one, and turn it into tens of thousands of dollars in 30 days. Now if that sounds too good to be true, it is, unless you're a machinist. If you are a CNC machinist, then at some point you've thought about starting your own shop. Or maybe I'm the only one, I don't know. Maybe you already have started a shop, but for most people this is a fleeting thought. Because starting your own business is risky, it's hard, and there's always an element of luck involved. That said, today I want to talk to you about one unconventional way to get your machining business off the ground. It's a way that stacks the odds in your favor, and maybe you've heard of it. It's called crowdfunding. So what do I know about crowdfunding? Well, before I started Flux Workholding, I launched over 20 unique products using the technique to the tune of several $100,000. So I know personally the power of crowdfunding and just how much it can change the life of a single machinist. So I want to share with you my experiences, because if it helps just one machinist out there to do what I did, then this video is worth making. So what is crowdfunding? Well, we're basically talking about using platforms like Kickstarter in order to take pre-orders of a product that is not yet in production. So Kickstarter is not the only game in town, but it's the most popular, and it's where I've personally launched most of my products initially. So it's the one that I'm most familiar with, and when I think of crowdfunding, I think Kickstarter. So the question is, can you replicate the sort of success that I have had? And frankly, I think many of you can far exceed the success that I have had. So if you'd like to learn more, let's go to the classroom and I will break down my method for crowdfunding. All right, guys, so let's get into it. So let's say you have a widget like this titanium minimalist wallet, which was one of my first products that I ever created and sold through crowdfunding. You're going to have certain economies of scale that you really need to reach in order to make this a viable product. Yes, people will pay 40 bucks for this product, or 60 or whatever, I forget. But you won't be able to produce it cheaply enough unless you have some economy of scale, because you have overhead expenses, you have a CNC machine, you have discounts that you get with buying higher quantities of materials. So the point of crowdfunding is to literally to kickstart your production by raising enough money to reach that economy of scale. And hopefully after your Kickstarter project, you can carry that momentum forward and continue producing your product cheaply enough that it's a viable business for you. So you have some goal, some amount of dollars, and you have to decide for yourself what that amount is. But hopefully you're going to launch your Kickstarter campaign on day one, and you're going to get a nice big jump. It might slow down, and then it'll just surpass your goal. If you do surpass your goal here before the end of your campaign, then Kickstarter will transfer all of that money to you, and you will be then responsible for delivering your product, which is great. It's exactly what you want. And hopefully you go far beyond it and you sell a crap ton of your product. All right, so hopefully we're all on the same page that we want to sell $1 million worth of your product, if possible, in 30 days. Everybody will be happy. However, most campaigns do not do this. Probably, I think the stats are something around only 30% of campaigns actually reach their goal. And a lot of those goals are really low, so it's not as good as you think it is. And some of those campaigns, some small fraction, fail to deliver because they're usually not machinists. They don't know what goes into manufacturing their product, and they underestimate their costs and the time to do manufacturing. However, you will never get to this point. You will never get to this point of reaching your goal unless you take 3 things into consideration, because no one will back your project, or very few people will. And those 3 things are your idea or your product, your network, and your marketing. And these things, you can think of them as being multiplied together. Okay? If any one of these is zero, it's all zero. If you're the best marketer in the world and you have the greatest network, but your product sucks, it's zero. So you need to do all three. Most machinists, engineers, technical people in general, they can get the product pretty well, but they lack the network and the marketing. So one area where, as machinists, we can really excel is the product itself. We can make a really product that people will want to buy and that will be highly desirable. And the reason that we can do that is because, probably better than anyone else, we are able to iterate on designs. In my past life, I was an aerospace engineer, and I found that on most projects, you were really just creating a new version of something that already existed. And in those cases, you would probably throw one prototype away, and you might get it on the second try. But in the case of things you're going to launch on Kickstarter by yourself, typically it's going to be something hopefully a little bit more novel than that. And you're not going to get it on the first try. You're going to throw away the first one, the second one, the third one, maybe the 10th one. So for example, this is the Flexi Money clip that I was talking about earlier. It was the first project that I ever launched on Kickstarter. And my goal was to make it as thin as possible, to make it so it would last a long time, and so it'd be made out of a cool material, in this case, titanium. We also made a carbon fiber version. In order to do that, I really had to optimize the structure, the shape of these cutouts, because this whole thing is a flexure. And you know, it probably took me about 3 prototypes to get it to where it basically worked, and I was pretty sure the concept was going to work, and it probably took another 10 or so to get it perfect to the point where I felt confident that, okay, I can launch this and sell it to people and feel good about it. Okay, so iteration is our strong point, and it's really the secret to getting a perfect product that will be highly desirable. But that said, I don't think you should iterate to absolute perfection. I think you should iterate to perfection equals about 90%, because a lot of effort goes into that last 10%, and you should really wait until you know that your audience is going to receive that product well before you worry about that last 10%. So it's okay if you're not 100% confident in your product, but you need to be 90% confident. Then the next test, once you've iterated your product to near perfection, there is one litmus test that is going to tell you whether your project could be a success or whether it's sure to be a flop. And it is when you show it to people and they say, take my money now. I want to buy it now. I don't want to wait till the Kickstarter launches. I want it now. That is the reaction that you're looking for. Anything less than that, your product's probably not going to do very well. And you don't want to ask your mom, your family members, or your friends. Ideally, you'll ask strangers, maybe coworkers, people that don't really know you, because they're going to give you a more honest opinion of whether your product sucks. You know, if it does suck, it's better to find out now and then iterate some more, or come up with a new concept, or just do something else, rather than go through the extra steps of creating a Kickstarter campaign only to find that nobody wants your product. And it's quite sad. I've seen a lot of Kickstarter campaigns where they obviously spend a lot of time on getting the product perfect to them, but they perfected something that never should have been perfected because it just wasn't desirable. The next important factor in determining your success in crowdfunding is your network. There's the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, in crowdfunding, it's definitely both. And any crowdfunding platform such as Kickstarter is certainly going to bring buyers, backers, whatever you want to call them, to you, just by virtue of being on their platform, which is where early adopters hang out. But I'd say probably half of your backers, hopefully, or maybe more, will come from your own network, where you're basically reaching out to these people, telling them about your project, and they're going to come to support you. and their support is going to encourage other people to support you. And the two things that really matter with your network is not just how many people you know, but how many people those people know and are going to actually pass on information about your project to. So maybe you only know 5 different people that you're close with that are going to support your project, actually buy your widget. But maybe one of them is the CEO of a major news publication, and this person has editors working for them, and they have writers working for them, and they have an audience of, you know, a bajillion. This might end up being a lot more important than your friends and neighbors. But really, a lot of times you come across these by sheer luck. So to a large degree, you just have to go out and tell every single person you know about what you're doing. And eventually you'll probably find some people that are also passionate about it, and they will want to spread the word. And this sort of thing is how you go viral and you have a 6-figure Kickstarter project. All right, so let me give you another example of how you can grow your network for a single project. This is a titanium belt buckle that I made and launched on Kickstarter, and we sold, I think, about 2,000 of these in 30 days. The way I approached this project from a networking standpoint was I created an Excel sheet with about 1,000 influential people on social media like YouTube, Instagram, that sort of thing. And I reached out to every single one of them, and I wrote a personalized email and basically requesting that they check this product out, that if they wanted one, I would send them one to review. And I think about, probably 10%, maybe 5 or 10% of people responded in the affirmative, saying that, yeah, they would check it out. And then of those people, probably about half actually followed through and actually did write a review or somehow post about the product. But that was enough to basically drive that project to be a pretty good success. So if you don't have depth in your network, go brute force on width, okay? And make it personal. A form email will not suffice. You need to personally reach out to people, message them personally, call them, whatever it takes. If you want it bad enough, you'll do this. And yeah, I think that sums up the network. All right, let's move on to the final key ingredient, and that is marketing. And by marketing, I mean basically the content of the page that you're going to present to people to try to get them to back your crowdfunding campaign. So this would be your main campaign page on Kickstarter, for instance. So be real means act like a human. It means avoid corporate speak. The world is full of corporations with copy on their web pages that is written by committee, basically, and you can tell when you read it, and it's not memorable. It doesn't create any kind of connection with the customer or make people more interested in buying. So talk like a real person. This is something that's been pointed out to me that I kind of do naturally. If you go to our website, fluxworkholding.com, or carbontactics.com for some of our other products, or look at any of our Kickstarter projects by searching Michael Sargent, my name, on Kickstarter, you'll see that we've been doing this from the beginning. So you cannot out-corporate the corporations. When you're doing crowdfunding, you have to realize you're not competing against other people doing crowdfunding. Okay, if that was the case, I probably wouldn't be making this video. You're competing against the status quo, which is composed of large, successful corporations. So why would you want to sound like them? You want to sound different. And you can do that by just talking like a real person. It's the easiest thing to do, to just be yourself. Okay? So no corporate speak. Second, under being real, is show your face. That means physically have a picture of you, your face, anyone else on your team on the page so they can see that you're a real person. Every once in a while there is some big scam on Kickstarter that makes the news where somebody raises $1 million and then they fly off to the Cayman Islands or something and they never deliver on their project. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. But people are a lot less likely to think that you're that person if you show your face and you actually have a network of some people that support you and can actually be like, oh yeah, I love this guy, you know, he makes good stuff. So show your face. Another part of that is always have some kind of video showing your product. It's probably best if you are in your video for just a little bit, and that's something I often don't do because I really don't like making videos of myself. But sometimes you suck it up and you do it anyways. All right, so the next aspect of marketing is empathizing with your customer. All right, you want to be Betazoid, not Klingon. So that means think about your product from your customer's perspective and tell them about it from that perspective, not from your perspective, okay? We all agree that 5-axis machining is really cool and, you know, all these cool tool paths and techniques and tight tolerances and materials and all that stuff is really cool because we're machinists and engineers. But your customer, frankly, doesn't really care. You can kind of sum all of that up in probably one short paragraph to let them know that, yeah, a lot of work does go into creating this product, but that's really all that they need to know. If you elaborate on it too much, it's just going to be wasted space on the page. Finally, the final aspect of marketing that I see is showing value. Obviously, people need to think that your product is cool and valuable and useful to them, but you need to directly show them how it's valuable, directly compare it to the status quo. So, you know, when I was selling this wallet, I believe I put a picture of it and a picture of my old wallet, big fat leather thing full of cards and paper and all that stuff. And it's really the comparison of those two things that helps to sell the product. So you have to show it's valuable because look, this one is much smaller, this one is big, and that will sell it. The other part of showing value is what's called framing. So typically in a crowdfunding campaign, you don't want to have just one product at one price. You really want to have, like, you know, a high option, a mid option, and you know, a low option. And by having this really high option, even if not many people buy it, it kind of reinforces the value of your lower options. And there's a whole class of people that will always buy the best no matter what. So you should always have this high option because some people, they'll pay 100% more for a 10% improvement, and that's just the way of the world. And that's, you know, sometimes it's important. In an industrial setting, you know, why are some machines $200,000 and other machines are $100,000? Well, the $200,000 one may not be twice as good as the $100,000 machine, but maybe it's a bottleneck in somebody's process, and getting even 10 or 20% greater performance is worth twice the money because it's going to result in more profits for them. Well, you're probably not selling something industrial on Kickstarter, but I think people think that way subconsciously about their own life too. Well, thank you for joining me today. I hope this video was useful for some of you. We plan to do another video or two in this series. Probably show how to launch your Kickstarter project and go over some of the ins and outs of fulfilling your project as well. So this is to be continued. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment or reach out to me directly. You can find me at sales@fluxworkholding.com or find me on Instagram, and I'll be happy to talk with you.